Welcome back. We've done a lot of work while you've been gone. Obviously we got the motor out, got this all cleaned up, factory clean, degreased, cut the motor mounts off of it. We are ready to test fit the 5.3. We're going to put the motor in here and we will tack in the motor mounts, and we will have to support the transmission, get exactly where we want. The kit says I have to put a 1-inch body lift. I'm going to probably try it first without the body lift, but if I have to, I do have one. We just got our engine out here, and I unbolted the bell housing, and we are ready to disconnect the bell housing and get the GM bell housing on. This goes to the scrap. We're cleaning up the mating surface to install the new front cover for the transmission. I've installed the new seal in the front, and they give you a brand new front cover that has a shorter collar on it than the stock one did. Okay, we have the RTV on the new input cover here. There we go. Applying some Loctite to the last of these bolts. You don't want these things coming loose while they're in the transmission. I don't want to have an oil leak. Oops. I read the directions, and the directions said to put the flywheel and the clutch on first and then install the bell housing before you put the transmission on, because the throwout bearing has to be adjusted so that it doesn't touch the fingers all the time. So I'm going to get the flywheel on, get the clutch on, and then I will bolt the bell housing on and then get everything adjusted. They said you can put the throwout bearing and the slave cylinder, get all that put together, and then I'll get it all adjusted. Then I'll pull it off and then bolt the bell housing to the transmission. Then we'll stick it all together and it'll be ready to put in. I mounted the bell housing today. We got the flywheel on and pounded in the, well, not pounded, but we installed the pilot bushing. And I was looking today and saw a little note that there's a spacer you have to put in. So I had to pull the pilot bushing back out, put the spacer in, then put the pilot bushing in. Got that all done. Got the clutch mounted. Mounted the transmission. I had to adjust the throwout bearing and got the clutch slave on. So this now is all bolted up, ready to go. The only one thing I don't like about this kit is there's only 2 bolts on this side, 2 bolts on this side, and 1 bolt here. There's no bolt hole in the back of this head. So there's only 5 bolts that hold this bell housing onto the engine. They must have known what they were doing, so I'm going to go with it. Today I got the motor mounts in and got them tack welded on. There's a little gauge they give you to place them. So I stuffed the engine in. It ended up rubbing right here. So the direction said I need a 1-inch body lift. I was hoping I didn't, but I really do. And so we're just about to take the bolts out and lift the body 1 inch.
We're installing the body lift. We're going to use the high lift to jack up the tub off the frame.
Has that back there separated where you can put a puck in?
Almost.
Alright, go up some more. Yep. Good. A little bit. See? Okay, right. A little bit more. Easy now. Watch that side. Is it the motor mount and the block? Is it going through? Alright, so go down a little so we can go under it. We got the 1-inch body lift installed, which was relatively easy. And we put the engine in for a test fit. Just check the manifolds. The manifolds, they'll work. But right here against the firewall on the passenger side, the valve cover and the back of the block are hitting the firewall. So we're going to have to pull the engine back out and do some heavy modification there to give it clearance. You may have noticed that we are under a tent. We're in the gravel. There's plywood down here on the gravel so that we can work without getting gravel in our shorts. But that causes a little problem. I can't move the engine to the Jeep on the plywood because the wheels just sink in. So I have to have the engine in one place and move the Jeep back and forth. It's a little redneck, but it is the only way we can do it at this point until we get our garage built. This morning, came out here and had to modify the firewall right there so that the back of the head would fit. I also got the motor mounts all welded up and painted, so I am ready to put the engine in. Day 3 of the Jeep build this weekend. I'm putting in the steering shaft and realized that the number 2 spark plug was really close to the bracket and it would have been a pain to get that in afterwards, so I'm putting all the spark plugs in right now. I'm on the final torque here of this one, and there you go. It says torque it to 11 foot-pounds, so getting those in. And then on the website everybody says that the power steering lines are the same for the Chevy and the Jeep, so we're going to use the Jeep lines. We kind of did a preliminary. It looks like they're going to work, so after I get the plugs in, I'll put the steering shaft on, then we'll mount the alternator and the power steering, and then hopefully everything hooks up. We got the power steering and the alternator mounted up. The stock Jeep high pressure and low pressure lines bolted right into the power steering pump. We did have to modify the connection. We bent it a little bit to make it work. Right here it's going to loop under the radiator, but it's out of the way. The low pressure line, we're going to tuck it up out of the way, and we're going to put it on this pipe, but we have to bend it down and make it conform, and then we need to keep this out of the pulley, and we need to keep it out of the steering. So we're going to cut this, and then we'll attach it, and then we'll bend it as we need. If we cut this like right here, put it on, then we can bend this a little bit out. This will want to go here, tighten it up, and then we can tuck this back under. So I think we need to cut this like right here. Nice clean cut. It's the best tool you'll ever get. Continuing on, we've replaced this coolant line because it's very hard to get to. Put our alternator and power steering pump on. I just set the belt on. So basically the motor's ready. I have to get the radiator hose, the bottom radiator hose, two heater hoses, and I'll do that after I put the radiator in. So the engine now is basically done, except for wiring, and now we're going to work on the transmission and the shifter. I still need to get this hose here, which was cut off from the junkyard, which will come around and it'll tie into the side of the radiator. Today's been a productive day. So far I've gotten the grill on, got the radiator in, mounted permanently, put a few other accessories on, and now I'm working on the wiring. The stock wiring that went to the transmission, transfer case, and the fuel pump, I got those out on the bench, and I'm marking where those go. I'm going to integrate them into the LS harness, and I'm also now working on the gas pedal and getting the TAC mounted, and there will be major modifications to the gas pedal itself since it really doesn't work. The transmission was a big question that I had, and it was quite an easy fix. The transmission mount has 4 bolts that mount it to the bottom of the transmission, and those are 2 inches on center. It just so happened that we moved the engine 2 inches forward, so basically I just bolted the transmission front bolts in the holes for the back bolts. It mates up. Now what I got to do is build a plate that I'll weld onto the front side with 2 holes in it, so I get my 4, and then put a strap across it for strength. Anyway, easy fix on that, and then the shifter is going to be an easy fix. I have it mounted in there. It does need to be bent, heated up and bent, but that's going to be minor. So that's where we are today. Oh, welcome back on this sunny day. Today, there's been quite a few changes, but not a lot of progress. The TJ's out of the tent. I actually got a new job, and I am heading to Northern California, and I am going to flat tow my TJ down there and finish it down there. As you can see, the tent is empty. Well, no, it isn't. Mater is in the tent. This is another project that we have, and 1941 Dodge with a tow truck on it. You can't really see it, but anyway, this is we call it Mater. It's Mater's home. We run it in parades and whatever. It's pretty much bone stock. There are some YouTubes on us getting it running, but back to the Jeep. So there it is. It's ready to go. I'll be leaving in a week, and I'll flat tow it. My bumper is 32 inches off the ground, so my truck, I had to go out and get a new hitch for it, and I'm going to test it tomorrow, see if it works. But there it is. It has a 6-inch rise. And in doing that, they want you to have the tow bar pretty much straight, I guess, so when you hit the brakes, if it has too much angle, it'll pop the receiver off the ball. So we don't want that. With that hitch, I will be almost level. So anyway, the wiring's still to come. I will be doing some videos on that when school bus. Alright, there's more to come with the wiring. I will be doing some videos down there. I have a nice garage I'm going to be working in. And I will do the videos. Right now where I'm at is I have all of the original wiring from the fuel pump, transfer case, transmission up into the engine. I've taken all the unnecessary wiring out of that, and now I will tie that into the LS harness and back up into the dash and over to my fuse block, which I intend on using the stock relays in the box if I can. I have to find a special spade connector that snaps into those boxes. If I can find that connector, I will use the empty spaces in my fuse block. So anyway, more to come on that. We just have a temporary delay. So until next time, see you later.